Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Brian Murphy, and today's deep dive conversation is with Joel Bryant to talk about recruiting. Joel, welcome to the Daily Download, and recruiting is certainly such big news here in North Carolina. Today is the first day of the early signing period for men's and women's basketball, as well as every other sport not named football. Let's talk a little bit about you first, though, Joel. You're new to WRAL, and you're going to serve as our recruiting coordinator. That's awesome.
Yeah, it should be really fun. I'm actually returning to WRAL. I was with HighSchoolOT when I was in college at ECU, and I left for a little bit, but now I'm back to do football recruiting and basketball recruiting year-round for HighSchoolOT. So it should be very exciting. This is a special state with a lot of special athletes, and every year we see a good group of recruits to come in and really make the state proud.
You know, the big news today is going to be dominated by the classes that North Carolina and Duke and North Carolina State sign. Duke, as you might expect, signing a heck of a recruiting class this year. They've got several 5-stars in the class, led by Mackenzie Makaba. I'm butchering that name. Up 6'8" power forward. They've got 5-stars up and down: Caleb Foster, TJ Power, Jared McCain, Sean Stewart. North Carolina's got Simeon Wilcher, a 5-star combo guard out of New Jersey, and Zayden High, a 4-star out of Arizona. NC State is going to sign a 4-star, Dennis Parker, out of Richmond, which is a really good big get for Kevin Keats. But we wanted to talk about the players from North Carolina that are going to be signing. Unfortunately for both locals and for the local schools, none of those kids are going to be signing with local schools, right?
Yeah, not really. We have a few 4-star prospects in the state, but they're going to the likes of Tennessee, USC, Wisconsin, Charleston. Usually we do get a couple of in-state guys, but this year that's not really the case.
And the other thing I noticed is when you look at the list of top recruits in the state, almost all of them are playing at private schools. Some of them started at public schools, but almost all of them are at private schools to finish their careers.
Yeah, so with high school boys basketball in particular, there's been a real shift in what we've seen even in the past 5 years. A lot of these kids will end up, they used to end up playing at their public school for all 4 years, but now it's rare to see a really good prospect like that even last beyond their sophomore year.
And what's driving that?
What's driving that is the level of competition that you find in the private school level. A lot of times kids that are really special players will be told by numerous people that in order to reach the level that they want to reach at the college level, they have to play those type of players at the high school level. So basketball, we see a big difference in basketball. The top end is always much higher than the average tier, right? In football, it's not really much of a difference, but in basketball, it's always the top tier has a big difference. Even in the NBA, you see the teams that have the 5 biggest superstars tend to be the best teams. That's usually how it works in the high school and college levels as well. So a lot of times they're told that you have to go to these other private schools to compete against those players that are like you in order to be properly seen by the college coaches.
Which is pretty amazing. Word of God Christian Academy in Raleigh has 3 top players in the state playing there right now. So you start to see a coalescing of all of the top talent at certain schools, and then a lot of times these schools won't even be playing other schools in their state. They'll be traveling around the country playing a national schedule. There's a couple of players in North Carolina who started at public schools, but are now at private schools and are going to be signing likely today.
Yeah, Silas Demery Jr., he plays at Combine Academy right now. He's going to be heading to USC. I saw him win a state championship with Millbrook when he was a sophomore. He actually had the game-winning play. He had a steal in the open court, then went down the court, and then made the go-ahead layup with, I think, 8 seconds to go against Ardrey Kell. That was a really big play. But he left right after that for a different school, and then eventually went to Combine Academy.
And he's going to Southern Cal. So, a really high-level recruit, considered a 4-star by 24/7 Sports, and is going to end up playing in the Pac-12.
Yeah, he's a really special player. His father was an NFL player, Silas Demery Sr. So it's an athletic family. I guess with his situation, he already won the state championship at the highest level you can in public schools. So maybe it was more of a situation where he's trying to challenge himself to be even better. But still, you can't really fault him because he ends up at Southern Cal, right? That's obviously a beautiful school, beautiful program there. So it's hard to really fault that move.
And then another player, Myar Wall, right? He played at Holly Springs High.
hmm It was actually Fuquay Varina. I misspoke earlier. He was a part of a special Fuquay team that kind of came out of nowhere one year and won 20 plus games. And then I believe he lasted a year after that and then moved on to Moravian Prep. So that's another case where a guy probably has like the best possible season he can with his public school team and then moves on to a different private school.
And it's not just men's basketball that's signing. There's also girls basketball. Signing day for colleges, and in girls basketball, we're seeing less of that matriculation, right, to private schools. Many of the top girls players are remaining and staying in public schools.
Yeah, exactly. It's really essentially a boys basketball. I don't want to say issue, but it's more of a boys basketball trend, I will say. We can see the top two players in the state, Rachel Douglas and Madison Jordan. They both stayed at their public schools. Douglas is at Millbrook, and Jordan is at Panther Creek.
And Douglas is expected to sign with Alabama. Jordan is expected to sign at Wake Forest.
Yep, exactly.
Is this you're obviously new to the role of being covering recruiting here in North Carolina, but is this a top heavy class? Is this a deep class? Do you have any thoughts on what type of class it is, a high school recruiting class for basketball, boys and girls?
Well, in boys, we have a number of 4-stars, which is usually a really good sign. Freddie DeLeone is at the top of this class in the state, is ranked number 24 in the country by 24/7 Sports. So he's really a fringe 5-star prospect. On the girls' side, I would say it's a little more deeper. We don't have anyone that's in the top 50 prospects nationally, but we do seem to have a number of 4-star prospects in that kind of second-tier range there.
And of course, we're talking about prospects that are going to sign or commit to their college programs today. But they won't enroll until next summer. So they'll be freshmen in the class of 23 that comes in. You mentioned DeLeone. He's a Word of God Christian Academy student. He's committed to Tennessee. So some SEC. We talked about USC. I mentioned it's in the Pac-12, maybe in the Big Ten by the time that Silas Demery starts playing there.
That's true.
One of the interesting things, you look through the top players on the boys' side in particular, and 3 of them are committed to Charleston, which is pretty amazing. College of Charleston, obviously a nearby school, not an ACC school, not even a Power 5 school, but has been able to land some talent here out of the state.
Yeah, that fascinated me as well. Wall, who we mentioned earlier, is headed to Charleston. And then James Scott from 71st, who's the top public school guy, is also going to Charleston. So I'm not really sure about who's at the coaching staff there, but there has to be some kind of connection to North Carolina that's drawing them there.
We'll be back after this break with Joel Bryant to talk about sports outside of basketball. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm talking with Joel Bryant with WRAL about recruiting, National Signing Day, the early signing period for boys and girls basketball, as well as every other sport outside of football opens today. Football players will get their chance to sign in December for the early signing period there. You look at baseball in particular. North Carolina has become a hotbed of baseball talent at the high school level. There are some players that can sign. Of course, baseball signees are even more unpredictable than some of the other sports because they could get drafted in June and sign with a Major League Baseball program instead of attending the college that they sign with. But still, signing day, an awful big deal for them as well. Are there some players that we should keep an eye on for baseball programs around the state and at the high school level? Of course, we're having a ton of success with college teams in North Carolina as well.
So Walker Jenkins from South Brunswick High School, the outfielder, he's one of the most hyped up high school prospects in the country this year. I just saw a prediction, I think on Perfect Game, where he is projected to be a top 5 pick in the MLB draft. So he will be signing with North Carolina, but as you said, that can get a little bit convoluted there with the MLB draft and everything. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually ends up playing for North Carolina.
Yeah, if he's projected to go in the top 5 of the draft, the chances of him going to school very, very small. But that's a player that if you'll want to check out, certainly Walker Jenkins out of South Brunswick. Anybody else? And NC State's baseball program's had a ton of success here in recent years. Looks like they may have some nationally known recruits coming in as well.
Yep, Chance Mako, the right-handed pitcher from East Rowan. He's currently lined to go to NC State, so he should be signing either today or some point in the near future. There's other players as well. Justin Best from Langtree Charter. He is an outfielder. He's going to Florida State. Tucker Holland from Burlington School, which is not too far outside of Raleigh. He is going to Arkansas. He's a recently committed there. And then we have another right-handed pitcher, Nathan Teague from Southern Alamance. He's going to Vanderbilt, which is obviously a well-known program.
Yeah, Vanderbilt producing pitchers and major league talent quite quickly all the time. That program has turned into one of the best programs in the country. We mentioned football signing day, early signing period, not until December, but obviously the playoffs are happening right now. Lots of big names, players that are committed to programs all over the country. Are there one or two names we should be keeping an eye out as the high school football playoffs get wrapped up here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, for WRAL viewers, right here in Raleigh, we have 2 wide receivers who are 4-star prospects. They're very, very good players. Noah Rogers from Rolesville High School is going to Ohio State. He's in the top 50 prospects in the country. And then Nathan Leacock from Millbrook is going to Tennessee. And he's just outside of Rogers in those rankings. So for anyone in Raleigh that wants to see those caliber of players, they're still playing. They're in the second round of the playoffs this week. Those are 2 guys you definitely want to check out.
Yeah, we're talking about Ohio State and Tennessee, 2 of the teams most likely to be in the college football playoff, landing superstar players out of the Raleigh area. Those are really big commitments. Certainly North Carolina recruiting the state well. North Carolina State also recruiting the state well. That signing day is December 21st. Mm-hmm. That's when players can begin to commit to their college football teams. Any names under the radar that people should be paying attention to? Obviously, these playoffs are still ongoing. Second round is this weekend.
Yeah, like you said, from the in-state perspective, it's a much bigger deal in football. Those coaches really want to build, they call fences around the state. Mac Brown's huge 2020 at UNC recruiting class was actually focused on completely in-state players. And Nick Stevens and I at HighSchoolOT, we actually got all of them on in one Zoom interview during the pandemic. So we had like 12 players. They're on there at once. It's really cool. But if you look at the list here, if you go on 247sports.com, you just see a bunch of Carolina logos, a bunch of state logos. So Coach Doran and Coach Brown are doing a really good job attacking the in-state recruits. And there are still some guys who are uncommitted, but we'll have better answers around the time of the 21st.
Yeah, that keeping in-state talent in-state so important to building those programs. They're both ranked in the top 20 right now. North Carolina number 14 with a really good chance to play for the ACC title. NC State number 17, a really good chance to have maybe their best season in a long time. So not surprising that that's also translating into success in the recruiting battles. Again, National Signing Day, the early period is today. You'll hear a lot about the great class that Duke has signed, a lot about the great class that North Carolina has signed as well. And football recruiting early signing period is December 21st. I want to thank Joel Bryant of WRAL, and you can find all his work at HighSchoolOT.com. Tremendous work during the playoffs, tremendous work all season, but especially continuing with the playoffs. There'll be a lot of content at HighSchoolOT.com. Thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is in the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email that's waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news, events, and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.